Ask any of the people around you at work and in your social circles to come up with a list of behaviors that were considered socially unacceptable, and sooner or later, gossip is going to come up as one of them. Religious texts all have some variation of slander, backbiting, and gossip as forbidden behaviors. And at some stage in your life, an authority figure would have told you that if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. But what if this advice was wrong? Stick with me to find out why. My name is Eddie Boertes. I'm the founder of Leadership, and I help leaders to design, align, and embed a culture where people thrive. I want you to imagine the following scenario. You are given $10 and you can pass on as much of that money as you want to John. The money that you give John is then going to be tripled, and he can decide to share as much of that money as he wants with you. You decide to give all of the money to John. So he now has $30, but instead of sharing the money with you, John decides to keep all of it for himself, leaving you with absolutely zero. Now, imagine that John now gets the opportunity to play the same game with Nikki. But before Nikki plays the game with John, you have an opportunity to share a note to Nikki. What are you thinking right now? And what are you going to share on that note? Now, this is an experiment that was led by the psychologist Matthew Feinberg. And as you can imagine, most people were exceptionally pissed off. In fact, 96% of individuals decided to share a note with Nikki, warning her that John was totally unreliable and he was playing for his own self-interests. Here's the interesting thing, though. That although that they were annoyed beforehand, gossiping made them feel better and their heart rates dropped as a result. But those who were not given an opportunity to gossip experienced elevated heart rates. In its rawest form, gossip is typically used as a strategy by individuals to further their own self-interests, to further their own reputations, and it can be used in cruel ways for very selfish purposes. But this kind of gossip is different. It's called pro-social gossip, and it involves spreading negative reputational information about someone who harms, deceives, or exploits others. It comes from people who value fairness. In this experiment, the more people valued fairness, the more they gossiped pro-socially. They felt like it was their mission to punish John and to warn Nikki. In fact, the more they witnessed John's behavior, the more they wanted to warn others. People were paid $5 to be part of this experiment. And in 76% of the cases, people chose to use their own money to send Nikki a message, to warn her of John's reputation. In fact, averaging at $1.19 per person just to get a note to Nikki. Another very interesting behavior was seen in the studies. In experiments where people were told up front that they would have the opportunity to write notes about those playing in the game, those that valued fairness and generosity shared money regardless. But here's the interesting thing. This knowledge transformed the behaviors of the most selfish players. It boosted their contributions by between 17 and 23%. So under the threat of gossip, the most selfish became the most generous. So pro-social gossip then has three major benefits. It allows us to feel as though we are promoting justice. It protects other people from exploitation. And it encourages those would-be exploiters to be more cooperative and to act more generously. I came across a tweet about a month ago by a woman called Laura Motta. She shared an experience that she'd had in a bar where she was warned by a barman who basically said, here's a message from my sister, come have a look. And when she looked at the phone, the message basically said, do not under any circumstances engage in a conversation with the man sitting to your right. Now, the fact that Laura shares her story And the fact that it was shared 1,000,000 times in a very short space thereafterwards, prompting other people to share similar stories of their experiences, shows that this kind of pro-social gossip is what we want to see, from other people around us. It can be said then that gossip is a highly evolved social skill. Those who can't do it well will find it very difficult to maintain relationships and may find themselves on the outside looking in. Like it or not, humans are hardwired to gossip. Social psychologists believe that our preoccupation with the lives of others is the byproduct of a prehistoric brain. Because our ancestors lived in relatively small groups, they knew one another intimately. So in order to ward off enemies and to survive in their harsh natural environment, our ancestors needed to cooperate with those members of their in-group. But they also recognized that these very same individuals were their competition for scarce resources and also for mates. So under these circumstances, our ancestors faced a number of social adaptive challenges. Who are the people that are most reliable and most trustworthy? Who are the cheaters? Who would make the best mate? And how can the dynamics of family, friendships, and alliances be managed? It makes sense that those individuals who had an intense interest in the dealings of others and harnessed these social skills to interpret, to predict, and to influence the behaviors of others were more successful than those individuals who didn't have these skills. If you didn't participate in pro-social gossiping, you were pretty sure to be ostracized. You were going to be left on the outside of the in-group. See, when we share secrets with other people, it's a sign of deep trust. We develop a strong bond where we signal to the other person that we will not use this information to hurt them, and they in turn won't use this information to hurt us. Studies of California cattle ranchers, Maine lobster fishers, and college rowing teams confirm that gossip is used to hold people accountable. In each of these groups, those who violated group norms and expectations about sharing resources, or those who weren't pulling their weight, became the targets of gossip and also ostracism. For example, lobstermen who didn't respect well-established norms, about how and when lobsters could be harvested were very quickly exposed by those same colleagues in the trade. They were temporarily shunned, and for a while, others even refused to work with them. Of course, this doesn't mean that all gossip is good. There is an emerging body of research that shows that if you consistently spread negative gossip about members of your team, that you'll be seen as less trustworthy. You'll become less cooperative and more political. In fact, your team will become less cooperative and more political. But if you gossip about people on somebody else's team, you can actually build trust and promote cooperation and also dismantle politics. Putting down an enemy, it seems, is a form of social glue that binds us together as a team. I've always viewed gossip as a vice, and when I've worked with organizations in developing their keystone habits as part of a culture change process, the admonition to be true to those who are not present has always come up and has been signaled as a virtue. I still believe this to be the case. And I would still rather see teams as a place where we would rather share positive reputational stories about other individuals rather than negative reputational stories about other individuals. But it seems then that successful gossiping entails being a good team player and sharing key information with other individuals in ways that won't be perceived as self-serving. It's about knowing when it's appropriate to talk and when it's probably best to keep your mouth shut. If you found any of this to be valuable, please consider sharing it, like it. And if you want more stuff on how to build better teams, how to lead better teams, then please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, cheers.